Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Kanion. I'm an artist from Baltimore, Maryland. I do alternative R&B music. I have an album out right now by the name of Burning Bridges. It's on all streaming platforms, mastered by Aria Mastering. And yeah, I hope you guys tune in. And if you want to follow me and get to know me more, my Instagram and everything is Brandon and Canyon, Kanion. Again, that's Brandon Canyon at whatever. And I had released it before during the pandemic, but because of the pandemic, I couldn't do as much as I wanted to do with it. I felt like I had some more to say, so I almost did like a re-release. If you paid attention to what Kanye and Drake and them were doing during the pandemic, they would release an album and then re-upload it with new tracks. I did the same exact thing. I wanted to just give people a further in-depth listen to what else I had to say in regards to the album was concerned. So yeah, I like a director's cut. Exactly. It just had about I think four new songs, and then I added an intro and an outro, and it kind of completed it. It made it sound like a movie in a sense. Closure. That's exactly what it did. It gave it closure, and it took the energy that was already there and just put it from, I would say, if it was at a level 4, it went from a level 15 just by adding all those things to it. Everybody seemed to like it. Yeah. My engineer, I co-produced a lot of things in terms of like vocals and the instrumentation that we use. I told them what to do, where to go, and things like that. But when it comes to like beats and stuff, my engineer, his name is Ryan Top Secret Anderson. It's really cool, man. I've been working with this guy for about 13 years. We have a groove, man. Yeah. He gets my voice and everything at this point. So it's like, yeah, it just works. It works. So he worked with me on 913 as well. Definitely. In fact, the first song that we did off of 913 was the song Race. And in that one I feel like we had started to establish our kind of flow with that. Like I would come in with the melody and a song that I had already been writing, and I would come with the premise like this is what I hear, this is what I want to do, and we would start there. But for some reason, when we start there, it would just, when we work together, it takes us to a whole nother level because of the things he has in his head and the things I have in my head, and the things working together just creates this unorthodox track or song, because I don't think any of the songs that we have are necessarily we were trying to do what's popular or what's out or have a follow a formula that was set. We just go in and try to create, you know try to create something special. Yes, we do it in person. We record at the studio called Right Way Studios. I like working more in person than I do digitally, or like with somebody across the, let's say, in the state, and we do a Zoom call kind of meeting. When we're in person, you feel what the person's feeling. You see their reaction when you're creating. You can hear what they're saying in their voice, watch their body language. It's all personable. It's all intimate, and I'm a very intimate person. With everything I do, I'm very intimate. Even my friendships, I don't go out with groups. I like to go out with like one or two people. So I think it was a huge jump. I knew that, well, when I was structuring 913, I already had in my head that I wanted to do more live instrumentation on the album than I wanted to do um more so production in that sense, computer production. So I knew I was going to go into that live feel like we are in Burning Bridges, but I had no idea it was going to be like this. And I don't know what it was that kind of elevated us in that sense. I think it was after 913, where was I at? It had to be the pandemic. It had to be the pandemic that kind of pushed us over that edge, because we couldn't record for a little bit, and I was going through relationship things. That's clearly why you have this album. And I think that he was like itching to create, so we got a chance to finally get back up. The pandemic had kind of brought out these kind of different people than we were before it came. You know, I think it did that for a lot of people, but yeah, once the pandemic came, we were here. We were all on that same high notch of let's just create quality and be real and authentic and even more honest than we were. Well, for me, when it comes to genres, I don't really like even put myself in the genre box, period. Because I grew up listening to so much music. My family's a musical family. We either sing or we play an instrument, and we all grew up in a church. And my school training wasn't even in one particular place. You know, I grew up in school listening to jazz or rock or country, and then R&B and a little bit of polka. Man, so I love so many genres, and I think me singing, and because I love so many genres, I always found a way to kind of make my voice work with all of them. So I knew with this one, I didn't want to be like, all right, I want to stay in this particular realm or this box. I wanted every emotion that I was feeling to have its own place. So if I was angry, I felt at a moment that I wanted to be a little punk rock and expressing that anger. You know, if I was really happy and jittery and wanted everybody to kind of move and feel those jitters, like I do in Black Boy Magic, I wanted to give it that jazz Frankie Lyman, you know, big band kind of feel, you know. Or at the end when I was like at peace, you know, when I'm very sure of myself, my emotions. uh you know, I kind of wanted a little Afro beat kind of feel, because that makes me feel confident. It also makes me feel light and not so heavy, you know. So everything was geared around whatever emotion I was trying to portray, more so than trying to, I want to try this sound and then try this sound, you know. It weirdly all felt natural. Okay, that's a good question. That's a regular magic. From there, we're going to Can't Let Go, On This Side of Love. Um, so same type. That was particularly fun because of the background harmonies, and that because of the moment of release that I had recording the last little bit of that song. Um, I'm a harmony guy. I love harmony. I taught my whole family. We also are a choir, and I taught the choir, and we love singing in harmony. So that song, the harmonies on there was so on point, man, and it always makes you go, woo, when you listen to it. Like I feel it in my shoulders. But other than that one, I think "Be Happy," which follows right after that, man. That was I like that one because it was the first song that I sung all the way through in my falsetto and kind of played with that. I always wanted to do that. I want to do more of it actually, because that was really beautiful. With that song, I wanted to pay homage to Aaliyah and the Isley Brothers. Uh, that At Your Best. So I like structured it in the way that that song was kind of structured. You know, really, it's a groove, but it's real pretty and light, and so that was fun. Mr. Nice Guy.
Yep.
That also was fun. That one, I can't put that in a box. I don't know how to. I don't even know where to put it. And I think that's what made that one so fun. We were literally went in like, okay, I'm gonna sing this. I'm gonna sing how it goes. And in my head, it was going to be another rock kind of feel, because that was but more experimental rock. Um, but what came from it was something I feel is like Justin Timberlake and Timbaland. If they were in the studio together, they would have created that particular song. Very sexy back vibe. Like, you know, I think we started out. How we started was how, if you're listening, the track on there is called "You're the Man." How we started recording was just like that. Like I'm working on this concept for this next album where it's a theatrical album. So there's like acting on the album. There's interludes that are like if you went to a movie or a musical and close your eyes, that's what the album would sound like. So I wanted to tease them a little bit with that song, and That's the type of fun we have. We're looking for sounds and going in the studio, creating sounds to sound like glasses breaking or like someone is tripping or like it's fun, man. It's fun. I think I love it because it's like it will be going to the studio. There's no limits. There's no limits to it, man. Yeah, I want them to feel like, wow, this could I could see this in a movie, or this feels like a movie, or I would love to see this live. You know, I want them to feel that, and I also want them to feel not just the theatrics, but the human side of it all. Like, I think for a while we got stuck in everything being so this and lacking a little bit of emotion, but I was raised in '90s music, man. I was born in the '80s, late '80s, so there was something so real about that time in music, and I can't let it go. So, you know, uh, yeah, I want them to see the theatrics, but I also want them to feel raw emotion and talent. Yeah, because the artists around that time, it wasn't so oversaturated with artists. You know what I'm saying? And every artist that was out, there was quality with them and what they were saying, what they were doing. You can distinguish between the artists. You know what I'm saying? Like that was also important with me. I wanted people to hear a song and be like, "That's Brandon." I didn't want it to feel like this is another shuffle in the realm of this particular sound. It's also why I enjoy the fact that it goes like a wave or journey in sounds, because it's like, oh, can't put them in a box. Well, most of the time it starts with the melody. Starts with a melody. Starts with my voice notes, and I'll have like a phrase might come to my head, and I'll make sure I record it because when I'm creating, and I know other creators who deal with the same, it's easily slips your mind because you're dealing with something else at the moment. I could be dealing with the kids, and I'd be like, "Wait a minute, kid," and I record it on my phone. But it starts there, and I'll create a melody. Sometimes words come in that same breath, but then I go back to what I feel because a lot of times I write in the moments that I feel certain things. For example, this particular album, let's say can't let go, can't let you go. That song, I wrote that because I was in a situation where I was dating someone who I just could not let go. We kept breaking up and I kept going back, and we kept breaking up and get back together. And I asked myself, like, why is it that I keep winding up in these type of situations? So yeah, I kind of wrote it out, man, and I tried to stay true to what I feel. So I started with I can't take it. It's like, wait, we keep going back and forth. Like, what do I say here? Ah, so like I'm running in slow motion, trying to paint the picture of what I'm feeling and going through. Yeah. Most of the time that's how it starts. Yes, yes, yes. Like, and just or sometimes I'll start with just the title of the song. I know it sounds crazy, but um let's take 913 for instance. I started all the songs with all the songs were titled not necessarily with words that are in the song, but the topics of what I wanted to talk about. And what I did was I allowed myself to feel whatever I was feeling, and I would write the words down. And I might have a phrase, and I would piece that phrase with this. I might have a rhyme stance that I wanted to do. It's so weird. It is like a puzzle. It is like a puzzle and starting in the middle, but it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. I've already been recording. I actually go back to the studio to record Thursday. So far, I want to go back to like the very beginning of when I was like born, conception, which is 1988. And this album was me kind of letting go of everything that I had been through up until a certain point and starting over. So I always say this thing when I perform, when I try to tell people my name, my last name, because it's spelled differently. I'll say, hey, my name is Brandon Kanion, like the Grand Canyon, but instead of like C and a Y, it's a K and a I. It's my little phrase. I didn't memorize it so much I can say it over and over again. So the next album is gonna be called Grand Canyon. And it's all about just very confident, very boastful, but very still honest and even more deep album. And I start to tackle things like issues with my dad, or the lack of not knowing him, or I'm a mama's boy, so I talk about that. Or I even wrote a new happy birthday song on there. That sounds really good. And but everything is theatrical. Everything has a scene that connects to this scene, that connects to this scene. So let's say the happy birthday song. That's you getting some exclusive stuff. That takes place in a restaurant. I used to work at a restaurant. So I'm trying to get people to know different parts of me, right? So this part is, hey, I worked at a restaurant and I actually loved it. So they will always call me to sing happy birthday to the crew because they knew I could sing, or to the people out in the customers. So I took that scene and I created a birthday song with that scene. And it's not, there's no instrumentation in it. It's all my vocals. There's glasses that were beating on desk, pots and things like that, all in the studio to create the beat. Because if that's the scene, nobody's just going to randomly pull out the bass guitar, right? Use what's in front of them. The shakers are going to be salt and pepper shakers, probably. But we created a song with that. I can't wait for you to hear it. It's kind of cool. You got it, so you're not like I feel like not boring the listener, but you're not tiring yourself out and the listener and staying in a particular round for too long. I don't know how many albums. No, all my favorite albums are albums that tend to like journey in sounds. All the albums I love journey through sounds. I don't stay in a particular pocket. Oh, sure. To well, that are no longer here. There's Michael Jackson's, of course, Thriller, but I love Bad. There's Prince's Purple Rain. Whitney Houston. I love the Bodyguard soundtrack. And I'll start with those three. I have a nice little like melting pot of artists that I look to consistently. So those three, just because I love Whitney's voice, her voice in every song, her ability to command people just with her vocals alone, and the fact that she can stand on stage and doesn't have to do a lot of things. Like I draw from that with her. Prince, he's an artist, so he's always creative, always creating differently, never in a particular box, always something mysterious about him. You never really know where he's gonna go, right? I love that about Prince. And Michael Jackson, I love the fact that I feel like he's an anthem writer. He writes anthems, and all of his anthems are catchy, and there's an energy behind it that you automatically get on, no matter what. Then you have Brandy. I love Brandy. Brandy's vocals are out of this world, man. And I didn't know how much I loved her until I got to college. And she came out with her album 211. And it was on repeat for years, and it still is. I love that woman, man. I can't. I want to see her several times when she goes on tour. That's how I love her. Janelle Monáe. I love Janelle Monáe. She's the reason why I'm doing theatrical albums. Yeah, when she first came out with her EP, Metropolis Suite, man, it changed my life. I'm not even it changed my life, and I was in the early stages of writing music and creating, and it stuck with me because the ability to bring the stage to an album was what I loved, and I didn't know how to do it at the time. They did it right. I say it every time listening to every single one of those albums that I mentioned. They did it right on those albums. Like they're perfect albums to me. Perfect albums. You don't skip a song. I'll use Arc Android for Janelle Monáe because that was her first album, and you don't skip a song, no, and they can transition into different genres or different sounds freely, and it doesn't sound forced. When artists are trying to force a sound that's not theirs on you, you can hear it, and you can not feel it. I would say you can feel it, but it's there, the feeling isn't there. But that wasn't them. They are naturally genre benders. I love it. Yeah, it's kind of like clothes. You know how people wear clothing that's not them, and you can tell that the clothing is wearing them instead of them wearing clothes. Yeah. Same way with the music, man. Same way with the song. You can see when people are just trying to follow a trend just to, either stay relevant or get relevant, and when they're not being themselves, you could tell. Ryan actually did, my engineer. So we were starting out testing different kind of mastering people, or just trying to see what companies will work, and he suggested to try Aria, and I was like, okay, I'll try it out. And we were looking through the different inputs and to utilize for the songs, and we kind of came up with a particular kind of input that works for the songs that we make, because we tend to record in the same kind of formula now. So we know when he mixes, we put it in Aria with this input and this output, and that's ours, you know. So yeah, he did it, and ever since then I've been using it for everything now. It's easy too, and I think that's the thing that we all gotta do as artists, to find your niche, and then boom, everything else is easy after that. The first couple ones are kind of, all right, it's a little difficult, but after that, once you got it, you got it. What's my favorite one? Tears into Flames. I love that one. I love that one because Ryan intentionally mixed that song differently than all the other songs that we've done. And that was because he was letting me know this is how we're going to start mixing going forward. One of the last songs that we did. And when we put it through, just to hear how it sounded, um, oh my goodness, that would be my favorite song that we've mixed and mastered with our Aria. That would be it. The quality's out of this world, man. It's out of this world. Well, I'm on tour at the current moment. I'm on tour. It's the Tears into Flames tour. It's an art tour, so it's not your typical tour because it's not a typical album, right? And I'm not a typical person, so the tour consists of me doing my music from the album, um, my fashion collection premieres during the tour at some point. I have art exhibits that I have set up from that are inspired by the album throughout the tour, doing talks and things like this, interviews, and speaking at colleges. It's a really all encompassing tour where people really get to see me in uh, holistically, I would say. Like you get to see the bulk of who Brandon is, and I'm doing every state that I can. December is Atlanta, and January I'm back in Baltimore. Um, yeah, and then I have a Christmas song coming out, which I did not imagine I would do that, but I am. Yes, I have that coming out in a couple weeks.